Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into, well, a story that's gripped people for ages. Centuries, really. It's a tale just packed with incredible human struggle, amazing triumphs, and this relentless search for redemption. We are, of course, talking about Victor Hugo's massive novel, Les Misérables. Our mission here in this deep dive is to really dig into the most powerful insights from the material we've gathered and try to understand why this masterpiece still feels so relevant today. Okay, so let's unpack this. Victor Hugo, I mean, what a literary giant, wouldn't you say? When he wrote Les Misérables, 19th century France, it was just constantly churning, revolutions, terrible poverty, power shifting all over the place. And you can almost feel that turbulence, that sort of volatility just pulsing through the book like it's another character.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really striking how deep that history runs in the story's veins.
Right.
Like you said, the sources really emphasize this isn't just, a background setting. It actively steers the characters' lives. It shapes the big ideas in the novel, the social pressures, the complicated laws, the huge gap between rich and poor. These aren't just details. They're forces that push the characters into the choices they make, the fights they have. It's a story that feels so tied to its time, and yet...
Yeah.
Well, the human stuff is completely universal, as we'll get into.
Right, exactly. And for anyone maybe less familiar with this epic, I mean, it is sprawling. At its core, Les Misérables tracks Jean Valjean's journey over decades. He gets out of prison after, 19 years for stealing bread for his sister's starving child. And his struggle against this society that just won't forgive him, always looking over his shoulder for the law. That's really the backbone of the whole thing. It's about his quest for a different kind of life, one built on, kindness and sacrifice. And that brings us to the people around him, this incredible cast of characters. Each one gives us a different angle on Hugo's vision. Your notes really make a good point about Javert. He's not just the bad guy chasing Valjean. He's almost a tragic figure himself, isn't he? He represents this kind of justice that's so by the book, so rigid, it can't see moral change. Yeah. His inability to square the letter of the law with actual grace, that's what destroys him in the end.
Yeah, that's a really powerful way to put it. It makes you wonder if Hugo's critiquing the system itself, not just Javert the man. And speaking of characters who show us what's wrong with society, then we have Fantine. The material presents her as, starting innocent, working in a factory, but then poverty just crushes her, pushes her into prostitution. Her story is devastating. It's not just about her. It's like a direct hit on the injustices of the time.
Precisely. Fantine's story, as the sources really highlight, isn't just sad luck. It brings up a really important question, doesn't it? What is society's duty to the people who are most vulnerable? How easily can the system just fail someone and push them right to the edge? Her story makes you face those harsh realities. And then, such a contrast, you have Cosette, her daughter. Yeah. She sort of represents innocence, hope, even growing up in pretty dark circumstances.
Yeah, she does. And the picture gets even bigger with characters like Marius. He's this young idealist, right? Caught up in the revolution, but also in romance.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Thénardiers. Oh, boy. Morally just bankrupt opportunists. They really show the ugliest side of society, sometimes even with this dark humor.
Every single one of them, good or bad, plays a crucial part in Valjean's journey and Hugo's big social commentary. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. The themes, the big ideas Hugo is wrestling with. There's that constant tension, isn't there, between society's laws and some deeper, maybe truer sense of moral justice, especially in that Valjean-Javert conflict. Can something be illegal, but still the right thing to do? Hugo keeps asking that. And then Valjean's own journey, just incredible redemption, grace. He receives grace, this amazing act early on. And then crucially, he pays it forward. He extends it to others and it changes everything. And of course, running through it all is this raw, unflinching look at poverty, how it crushes people and how the system keeps it going.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, as your sources really point out, is that Hugo doesn't just present these ideas like, here's theme A, here's theme B. He actually he forces you, the reader, to wrestle with really tough moral questions. He challenges your basic ideas about crime, about punishment, about whether people can truly change. Through Valjean's choices and how everyone reacts to him, the book makes us think hard about what real justice means, what redemption takes, and the power of grace, giving it, receiving it. And like you said, these aren't just historical issues. They feel incredibly current, don't they? We're still dealing with poverty, inequality, arguments about what justice looks like.
Absolutely. And Hugo's skill, his craft, It really comes through in how he tells this massive story. He's famous for those philosophical digressions, right? Where he just pauses the story to talk about society or history or just human nature. And he grounds this huge story with such careful historical detail. You don't just read about 19th century Paris. You feel the grit on the streets, the political tension, the desperation down in the sewers even.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the material suggests those digressions, like that famous bit about the Paris sewers. They're not just side trips. They actually work as this kind of narrative counterpoint. They make you confront the hidden, ugly parts of society. It sort of mirrors Valjean's own hidden past, the moral muck he has to navigate. It's a really bold way to structure things, grounding the big ideas in something so visceral. And this raises an important question, I think. What responsibility do writers have to comment so directly on their world, to weave that critique right into the fabric of the story?
That's a really interesting take. I hadn't quite thought of the digressions being that integral structurally, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It adds another layer. And beyond just the structure, your sources also mention his use of symbolism. It's everywhere, isn't it? The mischiefs, candlesticks, obviously, the barricades, even specific colors Hugo uses. The notes suggest these aren't just random details. They're loaded with meaning, often pointing to Valjean's moral choices or the bigger societal clashes.
It's kind of a subtle genius that you might miss if you're just reading for the plot.
Definitely. It rewards a closer look.
So, okay. What does this all mean? Why are we still talking about Les Misérables today? I think it keeps hitting home because those timeless themes, justice, redemption, struggle, the search for grace, they're just as relevant now, maybe more than ever. It's this profound story about the human spirit holding on against incredible odds.
Yeah, ultimately, the novel really invites you, the listener, to think about these deep, lasting questions. It's still so relevant for understanding ourselves, human nature, and the problems societies face, even now, all over the world. It sort of asks us to look hard at our own ideas about law, about justice, and to really think about the role compassion and empathy should play in a world still facing so much poverty and inequality, just like the one Hugo wrote about.
Yeah.
So maybe the question for us is, what responsibility do we have as people, as a society? How do we extend grace? How do we strive for justice? And where do we find hope in that ongoing struggle?